If you're noticing these signs, it means one powerful truth. You're already walking the path toward wealth. Not the kind of wealth that's only measured by money, but the wealth that starts in the mind, where all true riches are born. Understand this: every great fortune, every meaningful success, and every legacy left behind by a great individual began first as an unseen seed, not buried in the earth, but planted in the subconscious. If you're experiencing these signs, it means that seed is beginning to sprout. The first indication that you're on the road to wealth is the growing discomfort with mediocrity. You feel it more than ever now. Where once you tolerated the routines of ordinary life, they now disturb you. What you once accepted, clocking in without purpose, spending money without direction, surrounding yourself with distractions, now feels intolerable. This isn't frustration, it's awakening. The mind is rejecting what no longer aligns with your identity. It's casting out the habits, people, and beliefs that kept you poor, not just financially, but spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Wealth begins when you start saying, "This is not who I am." That's your first turning point. You're no longer impressed by appearances, and small talk no longer entertains you. You want strategy, you want substance, and you want freedom. Not through luck, but through intent. This hunger is a signal that you've crossed a threshold. You're now walking with the posture of someone who has made a decision. And when you decide, the universe moves to meet you. Another sign is your intolerance for wasted time. You now understand that time is the currency of the wealthy. The poor squander it, the average trade it for pleasure, but the wealthy invest it. Every second now serves as a building block for your future. You no longer live for the weekend, you live for your vision. You've learned that an hour spent building is worth more than a year spent wishing. And because you understand this truth, you begin protecting your time like treasure. You find yourself saying no more often, not out of arrogance, but alignment. Every no to distraction is a yes to destiny. You've become allergic to idle conversation, unnecessary scrolling, and mindless entertainment. You're no longer available for people who drain your spirit and dull your edge. You recognize that energy is sacred, and attention is wealth. The person who can control their attention will always control their outcomes. And now, you're beginning to master your attention. This is another sign. Where others are reactive, you are intentional. Where others consume, you create. Where others chase, you attract. You are no longer scattered, but focused. And focus is the hammer that breaks the chains of poverty. When a man is focused, he cannot be manipulated. He isn't distracted by comparison. He walks with direction. And a man with direction is always wealthier than one who is confused, regardless of how much is in his bank account. You've also started thinking long-term. This is another sign. You no longer live based on emotional impulses. You've started building systems and thinking in years, not days. You don't chase income. You build infrastructure. You're creating assets. Assets of character, skill, and value. You've become the kind of person who asks, "How will this benefit me in 5 years?" instead of, "How does this make me feel today?" And that shift, no matter how small it seems, is the foundation of empires. Now you see money differently. That's a sign of growth. Where once you feared money, you now respect it. You understand that money is a servant, not a master. Money is an amplifier, not a savior. Most importantly, you now see money as the result of value, not just effort. You've stopped trading hours for dollars and started multiplying your value through leverage, ideas, and systems. This is wealth consciousness. Wealth isn't a number, it's a mindset. And your mindset is no longer poor. Poor minds blame, complain, and wait. Wealthy minds create, solve, and act. You've stopped blaming your background, waiting for permission, and looking for signs from the outside. You are now the sign. You are now the one who moves first. You are now the one who says, "It starts with me." That is power. And power precedes prosperity. Another sign you're walking the path to wealth. You are now obsessed with growth. You're reading more, learning more, asking deeper questions, and listening to conversations that stretch you. You're replacing gossip with mentorship, complaints with commitments, and theory with execution. And that execution, even when imperfect, is creating momentum. Momentum is the greatest asset of the man pursuing wealth. Not speed, but momentum. Speed fades, but momentum builds. Every disciplined day you stack, every focused hour you complete, and every hard decision you follow through with adds weight to your character. And weight creates gravity. People feel it. Opportunities feel it. When the world senses your seriousness, it responds. You're becoming serious now. Not in mood, but in mission. You smile more, not because life is easier, but because you are aligned. You no longer panic when things go wrong. You've stopped making excuses. You don't talk about goals the same way. You walk like someone who expects to win. You carry yourself like a person who has already been there in their mind. You see, every wealthy individual I've studied has shared one key trait. They moved in advance of their results. They didn't wait for success to show up before acting as though they deserved it. They walked as if the money was already promised. They planned as though the vision was already real. And now, you do the same. You visualize each morning, speak victory over your life, and guard your words because you understand that words create. Your language is evolving, and that's a powerful sign. You no longer say, I can't, maybe, or hopefully. You say, I will, I am, and it's done. You've erased doubt from your vocabulary, stopped repeating stories of failure, and made your voice a tool for prophecy. You're now narrating your future with precision. When a person controls their language, they control their reality. Your circle is changing too. This is another sign. You're outgrowing certain conversations and leaving behind comfort-driven communities. Not because you're better, but because you're building something bigger. And the bigger your vision, the tighter your circle needs to be. You understand that proximity is power, and poverty is contagious. So, you've begun placing yourself in rooms where excellence is the baseline. You've learned that you don't need to be the smartest person in the room, but you need to be in rooms where smart people are talking. You've become a student of wealth, not just of income, but of principle, energy, and legacy. You're no longer focused solely on how to make money. You're building a philosophy, a system, a code, and that code is propelling you forward. Another sign that you're walking the path is that adversity no longer breaks you. It builds you. Where you once folded under pressure, you now grow. You understand that every obstacle is training. You've stopped resenting failure and started learning from it. You don't avoid pain, you alchemize it, extracting wisdom and using it as fuel. Because of that, you move through trials with grace. This is the mark of someone being prepared for great wealth. Wealth requires a strong container, and that container is character. If you are seeing these signs, it means your character is expanding. You are becoming responsible with your word. You're finishing what you start. You're showing up even when motivation fades. You're becoming the kind of person who can be trusted with more, and trust always precedes transfer. That's the spiritual law. When you can be trusted, wealth will find you. Wealth is energy, and energy flows to structure. When you build a structure through habits, vision, service, and consistency, the energy of abundance begins to move. Not because you manipulated the system, but because you became the system. You have become the system now. You're no longer guessing. You're executing. You're no longer hoping. You're building. And that, my friend, is the clearest sign of all. You are on the path to wealth. There comes a moment in every man's journey when he begins to feel the shift. Not because of what he has, but because of who he is becoming. The shift is quiet. It doesn't arrive with applause or celebration. It arrives in the form of new standards. It shows up when you start holding yourself to a higher level. even when no one is watching. It reveals itself when you begin doing what most won't, because you know your future demands it. If you're seeing these signs, you're no longer chasing money. You're becoming the type of person money chases. And let me remind you, the truly wealthy man never leads with money. He leads with value, clarity, and purpose. He understands that wealth is not pursued, it is attracted. You attract wealth by becoming useful, reliable, and excellent. Every time you increase your usefulness, your wealth potential multiplies. The world is full of people who want to be rich, but it's built by those who are useful. Look at your habits now. If you're seeing these signs, it means your habits are aligning with long-term gain rather than short-term gratification. You no longer eat for pleasure. You eat for energy. You no longer sleep to escape. You rest to recover. You no longer scroll to pass time. You read to expand. These aren't small changes. They're indicators that your identity is shifting. And identity is the engine of wealth. When you change how you see yourself, you change what you allow. A poor person justifies bad habits. A wealthy person builds around discipline. Discipline is not a punishment. It's a privilege. Discipline protects your time, your emotions, and your focus. Without discipline, nothing great can be sustained. With it, everything becomes possible. If your mornings are becoming more structured, your environment more intentional, and your calendar more organized, it's no accident. These are the behaviors of a person who is preparing for stewardship, not survival. You can't carry wealth if you still think like someone just trying to get by. You must start thinking like someone with legacy on their shoulders. The person with a legacy doesn't waste time arguing, chase cheap validation, or measure their worth by applause. They are grounded in principle. He understands that true wealth isn't just about how much he earns. It's about how much he builds, how much he keeps, and how much he can pass on without the next generation having to start over. Another sign that you're on the path to wealth. Your relationship with work has matured. You've stopped asking for things to be easy. You've stopped looking for shortcuts. You've stopped idolizing passive income without first becoming actively valuable. You realize that leverage only works when value is present. Now, you view hard work as a sacred process, not something to escape, but something to master. You no longer see your effort as a grind. You see it as a gateway. Every repetition, every focused task, every hour of deliberate action compounds into competence. And competence is currency. Wealthy individuals are masters of something, not everything, but something. They commit, they refine, they simplify. In that simplicity, they find power. You're no longer distracted by trends or jumping from one idea to the next. You've chosen your vehicle. You've chosen your mission. Now, you're digging deep, building depth. Surface-level effort produces surface-level results, but depth creates dominion. Another sign you're walking the path. You've learned to regulate your emotions. Where you once reacted, now you respond. Where you once panicked, now you pause. Where you once internalized everything, now you investigate. You understand that emotional intelligence is not a weakness. It's a weapon. It allows you to move strategically when others are driven by impulse. It allows you to make decisions based on principle, not pressure. That internal strength is what makes you a person who can lead, build, and multiply. And multiplication is the key, not just of money, but of self. When you begin thinking in terms of multiplying your time, skill, vision, and message, your mind has entered the realm of wealth. Wealthy minds don't just spend, they multiply. Poor minds only consume, always chasing the next thrill, the next fix, or the next dopamine hit. Wealthy minds delay gratification in favor of multiplication. That's why you're studying instead of scrolling, building systems instead of escaping stress, investing energy instead of draining it. You're beginning to realize that every action you take is either an asset or a liability. Every habit either compounds for you or against you. Because you've seen this truth, you're now starting to make decisions from the perspective of your future self. not your current feelings. This is the pivotal moment that most never make. The moment when your vision becomes louder than your emotions. When your why outweighs your weaknesses. When you choose based on outcome, not comfort. That's not just growth. That's preparation for abundance. You're preparing now, not just with goals, but with structure. You've started tracking your inputs, measuring your energy, auditing your time, tracking your spending, and monitoring your behavior. Not because you're obsessive, but because you're responsible. And responsibility is the foundation of freedom. The person who cannot be responsible cannot be rich. Wealth will always flee from disorder, but it is drawn to discipline, stewardship, and intentionality. Another sign you're on the path. Your self-talk has strengthened. You no longer beat yourself up over every mistake. You learn. You recalibrate. You speak life. You declare truth. You understand that you must first lead yourself before you can lead anyone else. Leadership begins in the mirror. Every morning you choose the voice you follow. Now, you're choosing the voice of power. You're building yourself with language that empowers you. This is not weakness, it's mastery. You no longer need hype. You've outgrown motivation that lacks movement. You're no longer impressed by flashy lifestyles with no substance. You respect consistency, admire humility, and seek wisdom. You'd rather be silent and successful than loud and empty. And that internal shift, the depth of your character, is a magnet for lasting wealth. Let's talk about the unseen. If you're seeing these signs, you've likely become more attuned to energy. You can feel when something is out of alignment. You can detect when a person's spirit doesn't match their words. You sense when an opportunity isn't right, even if it appears promising. That sensitivity is not weakness. It's discernment. It means your intuition is sharpening. The wealthy person always trusts their gut, not out of emotion, but out of awareness. You are aware now, not paranoid, but aware of your choices, patterns, and blind spots. That awareness gives you the power to adjust before any damage is done. This is what separates the person who keeps what they build from the one who loses it. It's not about intelligence, it's about awareness. It's the humility to adapt, ask better questions, and evolve when others become arrogant. If you are seeing this humility within yourself, you are on sacred ground. Because the path to wealth is sacred. It's not for everyone. It's not for the crowd. It is for the committed. The person who stays when it's hard. The one who decides when others delay. The one who sacrifices short-term approval for long-term abundance. That's who you are now. You don't just want more. You're becoming more. Your life may not fully reflect it yet. You may still be in the early stages, still climbing. But inside, you already know you're different now. Your mind is sharper, your intentions purer, your behavior bolder. You're no longer the same person, and you're never going back. That's wealth, not just having, but becoming. And every sign you see now is proof. You are becoming the kind of person who can handle, manage, multiply, and pass on wealth. Not just in money, but in mind. And that, my friend, is priceless. If you're still seeing these signs, and more importantly, still living them, then let me tell you something few will say out loud. Wealth is no longer a possibility for you. It's an inevitability. Why? Because you've already become the person wealth was designed to serve. You no longer need to chase riches like a beggar hoping for a blessing. You've earned the right to expect prosperity, not through entitlement, but through alignment. Your thoughts, decisions, actions, and standards now reflect abundance at the core. Look at the way you treat your mornings. You no longer rush through them out of obligation. Instead, you see them as sacred ground. You rise with purpose, not panic. You prepare, not react. You lead your day instead of letting it lead you. Every day that begins with intention is a seed of wealth planted. Compound that intention over months, years, and decades, and no force in the world can stop what's coming to you. Wealth does not flow to the scattered. It flows to the deliberate. And you, my friend, have become a person of deliberate purpose. Even. Your goals have shifted. Where once you chased status, now you pursue significance. Where once you sought money to feel powerful, now you know that true power is the ability to control yourself. You've discovered that real freedom isn't about acquiring more, it's about needing less. And from that posture, you've stepped into mastery. The person who needs nothing is the most dangerous person alive. They cannot be manipulated, distracted, or bought. And because of this, wealth is naturally drawn to them. You've learned that the wealthiest people aren't the ones who hoard, but the ones who create. You've adopted the mindset of value creation. You no longer ask, "What can I get?" You ask, "What can I give that multiplies?" This is what separates the wealthy from the hopeful. Hopeful people wish. Wealthy people serve. They understand that money follows value, and value flows from a refined mind and a sharpened skill set. You are sharpening that skill now. Every day, you think deeper. Every day, you solve faster. Every day, you speak with more clarity. That's the evidence of someone preparing for magnitude. Let's not forget the internal shift that precedes every financial breakthrough. Identity. If your identity has changed, your reality has already begun to change. You no longer say, "I'm trying." You say, "I'm becoming." You no longer say, "Maybe one day." You say, "It's already done. I'm catching up to it." You walk like it's done. You work like it's done. You plan like it's done. That inner shift is what the world responds to. Energy doesn't lie. When your mind is made up, reality bends to match. Even in silence, you are building. You no longer need constant feedback to know you're on track. You've developed the habit of showing up even when no one notices. You've detached from the need for approval. You've become your own accountability. That self-respect, that integrity, that's what wealthy people are made of. Wealth without character is short-lived. But wealth built on identity, intention, and internal power? That kind of wealth outlasts generations. Let me tell you this. It is no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The person you're becoming is inevitable, because you no longer make decisions based on your current limitations. You make them from the perspective of your future self. You no longer ask, "What can I afford?" You ask, "What does the person I'm becoming choose?" You've stopped budgeting for your fears. You've started investing in your faith. Every dollar is a soldier. Every task a message. Every conversation an opportunity. And because of that, wealth has no choice but to enter. You now speak in full sentences. You communicate with conviction. You own your time. You protect your energy. You move with rhythm, not rush. You think ahead. You ask questions. You no longer wait for life to assign you value. You assign it to yourself. And when a person knows their value, the world responds in kind. You don't beg for worth. You walk in it. You've made peace with solitude. Where once you feared being alone, now you cherish it. Solitude has become your workshop, your training ground, your vision board, your altar of refinement. The person who can sit in silence and build in the dark is the one who can handle abundance in the light. Most people fear silence because it forces them to face themselves. But you've faced yourself, and you didn't flinch. You grew, and that growth is priceless. You've stopped outsourcing your discipline. You've stopped making others responsible for your habits. You no longer need a reminder to do what you said you would do. You honor your word, even in private. And when your private actions align with your public commitments, that's wealth. True wealth is congruence. No split personality. No double standards. Just one mind, one mission, one man. You've developed vision. Not the kind you see on posters, but the kind written into your spirit. You see your future before it's visible to others. You speak life into dry places, build when there's no audience, and plant seeds when others are complaining about the weather. Because of that, you will reap what others only dream about. Not by luck, not by inheritance, but by law. The law of cause and effect, the law of belief, the law of responsibility, the law of mental clarity. If you are truly walking this path, there's one final sign that cannot be ignored. You've become impossible to unseat. You are no longer shaken by delay, discouraged by rejection, or broken by setbacks. Why? Because you've trained your mind to interpret pain as preparation. You've mastered the ability to extract profit from adversity. You are an alchemist now, turning resistance into results, loss into leverage, and delay into direction. Excellence is no longer a choice for you. It's your default. It's not something you do when you feel like it, but who you are, even when no one's watching. Integrity is now your compass, and purpose is your currency. You no longer talk about goals, you talk about systems. Systems produce, while goals inspire, but systems build. And you, my friend, are building every single day. You're no longer chasing big wins, you're stacking small ones, because now you understand that the compound effect of daily discipline will always outpace any flash-in-the-pan success story. You're not building for next week. You're building for your legacy. You're not here to impress. You're here to last. And that mindset, the long-game posture, is what makes wealth inevitable. So I'll say it again. If you're seeing these signs, you're not on the wrong path. You're not late, and you're not lost. You are being forged. Everything you're becoming, the habits, the posture, the clarity, the confidence, these are not accidents. They are confirmations. Confirmations that you are walking in alignment with the person you were always meant to be. That person is already inside of you. He's the one who rises early, who studies instead of complains, who executes instead of hesitates, who speaks truth, lives truth, and builds truth. He doesn't just wear success, he embodies it. Every day that man grows stronger, sharper, bolder, and freer. You don't owe the world an explanation. You don't owe anyone proof. You owe yourself follow-through. You owe yourself consistency. You owe your future family the version of you who didn't give up when things got tough. You owe your calling to a man who answered it without excuse. So stand tall, walk firm, and keep building. The world may not notice today, but wealth has already noticed. Because the man you are now, disciplined, aligned, clear, and becoming, is the very person wealth was searching for all along.